Now, Rock Talk with Mitch Lafon.
We are speaking with a singer-songwriter Rob Lamothe, of course, part of the Riverdogs with Vivian Campbell of Def Leppard, as we say in Montreal. Bonjour, Rob. How are you?
I am very, very well. I'm a bit wet. I was just out on a little bike ride and came back for a quick shower because I wanted to smell good for our podcast. So
yeah, you want it to smell good and look good.
Yeah.
Good. I want to get into the whole Riverdog stuff in a bit because there's just a lot of great music. I mean, the last album, which came out in 2017, California, was definitely one of the better albums of that year. But before that, you are supposed to be in singer-songwriter camp right now, teaching kids and teaching folks how to write songs. So let me start with that. For you, what makes a good song? You know, there's so many different theories. What's yours?
Oh, wow. You know, it's to be honest, it's so simplistic. It's like, does it feel good? Did I capture a mood? Did I tell a story? Really, it comes down to that for me. I'm not, I'm not a person that has made many decisions because they were going to pay me the most in any given time. So it's always about like what just feels good, what feels good rhythmically, what lyrics, take me on a little trip, whether I'm writing them or someone else is or co-writing them. And I mean, it's such a simple answer, I think, but that's what I go for. I still do after all these years. I'm still just going for what feels good.
Feels good. Somebody asked me recently, Mitch, do you believe that lyrics need to have a meaning and you have to? And I answered back, listen, if my ears like it and I can sort of phonetically mumble along, I'm in. Are you of the camp that lyrics have to say something, or are you more of the camp of, hey, good golly, Miss Molly sure want a ball, and it's just sort of whatever?
I'm of the camp of I really have this core kind of motto that I use with my. I've been working with young people at a songwriting camp that I sort of built up at a rock camp, and I've also been doing even some workshops with adults and around songwriting, just like a day type of thing, as opposed to a whole week that I do with the 8 to 17-year-olds. But it's really about writing without fear, creating without fear, and not putting barriers up to myself. And I encourage my young writers to do the same. To just be free and don't worry about, does this sound good? Where am I going with this? Who's going to want to hear this? Just really let it come out. And then the second part of it is edit without mercy. So I'm all about just getting it onto the page with lyrics and not stopping myself before my hand is on the pen and on the paper, because I do still like to write stuff down. And then we can edit later. But really, that's kind of my process, is just let it come out. Don't worry about it doesn't make any sense. What the hell am I talking about? I don't worry about that at all. I learned a long time ago. My wife and I have been together 25 years. And I learned a long time ago, I don't even know what I'm talking about sometimes. I'm not quite sure what I've said with a song, but there's always something I can learn from it. And so I'll just stick with that, Maybe that's why I'm not writing top 10 songs, maybe, but that seems to work for me. I have this theory that you can't not write about yourself. It's you can try not to write from your own head, but you're always going to, and that means you can always learn something, and that's good enough for me. That works for me.
Yeah, and I think writing without fear is a good place to start, and I think that's a good thing to mention for pretty much anything. When you're going to go date, you should do it without fear. When you're going to go, public speaking, that fear holds you back. In terms of new music, of course, Riverdogs put out California, like we said, in 2017. What are you doing sort of outside that band, and are you working on a new project right now that fans could come and check out?
I've got something that's on the go. We are now literally 10 songs in. I think Nick Brophy from Riverdogs, who's mixing the record, I believe he's started in on the 10th song this morning, and we're still finishing the 11th and 12th songs. But yeah, that's a project that I kind of got a call out of the blue, and a guy named James Harper from Boston, as I said earlier, the city, not the band, and it was just a guy, hey, I like your voice. I write a lot of guitar stuff, and could I send you something? Maybe we'll do a song. And that has now become an album because he has, some great friends that are great players and people that he's worked with over the years. And so that's been a really super organic thing that happened. And I mentioned to you before podcast, that the drummer,
folks are going to be listening going, hey, they edited out all this great content. No, we were talking before we hit record.
Yes, we were. We were getting the contracts and all the, dotting the I's and crossing the T's.
Sending the check, the PayPal over.
Yes, exactly. I don't start talking to anybody till the money's on the table.
That's right.
I learned that from Gene Simmons, actually.
Which we spoke about before. But I don't know. Yes, go on. So you're working on this project that's on the run. Musically, if I'm a fan of, hard rock, the Def Leppard, Riverdogs, that kind of thing, is this for me, or is it for me to discover something new?
I think it's probably both. Mike Mangini from Dream Theater is playing on three or four songs. Maybe it's 3 or 4. My son Xander, who's a killer drummer, he's on the bulk of the rest of the songs. I think he plays on 7 of the songs. Jimmy Wallace from the Wallflowers on keyboards. Greg Chasen is playing bass on half the album from Badlands. He knows how to rock pretty hard.
And he's got a new band, Kings of Dust, I believe.
Yes, which I think just released their record.
Like in the spring or not. No, it was a June release.
Okay, so we're not too far off here, having this discussion in a pandemic, because a year seems like a week and vice versa.
Yeah.
Rhonda Smith is also playing bass on maybe 3 or 4 songs now, it looks like, and she's played with Beck and Prince, and she comes from a whole other cool place. And Vivian's doing some vocals tonight, some harmonies on a song, and he played some guitar on a song. And it's a bit of we very much, it feels like a concept record, and it's very much kind of a 70s, maybe, I want to say like Archangels meets, everyone says Zeppelin, but like we talked about Badlands in the beginning, actually, when we were first getting started, and kind of like, what is this going to be? I
guess instead of Zeppelin, you could say Spirit, where they got all their music from.
Ooh, good one, Mitch.
Too deep. Too deep.
a little bit hard rock, a little bit, with acoustic guitar and B3 on some stuff, a little Deep Purple-ish, not because of the B3, but it's definitely like kind of a retro vibe. So that's the starting point. And the lyrics it's kind of this story, the whole thing. It's a wild kind of concept record. And it's really about this dude, like a California dude, lives on the Mexican border, which is where I was born, by the way, down by the Mexican border in La Jolla, California.
Which, by the way, is one of the greatest places to visit.
You've been to La Jolla?
Of course. Many times. I've been to San Diego 28 times, and you got to go to the coast and see the seals roll in. I mean,
yes. Yeah.
And, of course, it's the birthplace of RATT, so you got to go.
Exactly. My pals. I graduated La Jolla High 1976. Robin Crosby from RATT graduated the year after I did, 77.
Just real quick, did you know him at the time as a school buddy, and did you meet Tawny Katane at the same time? And
absolutely, yeah. Oh. My girlfriend at the time went to maybe that was a little later, but one of my girlfriends went to Mission Bay High School, which is south of La Jolla, and was friends with Tawny. But yeah, Robin was like the rock star in our town. Like he was like famous, in La Jolla. And at one point, it was probably this, I think it might have been the summer of 76, if I'm not mistaken. And he asked me if I wanted to audition for his band. So I ended up joining a band with him called Phenomenon. And we did a lot of UFO. And yeah, we played in a couple of bands. We played in that. We played in a band called Macmeta. We went.
Macmeta. I have some of those pictures.
Do you?
I do. I'll have to send them over. I have these old Macmeta pictures, which, if I'm not mistaken, they wrote half the RATT songs. You know, some of those songs.
Yeah. Very true. I was a co-writer on 2 of the songs on that first RATT album. I'm Insane and Scene of the Crime, 2 of the songs, and they forgot to give me credit, so there was a bit of a lawsuit over that, which eventually we sorted out.
Wait, there was a RATT was involved in a lawsuit? Oh my God.
Yeah, 4.5 years was actually, and then I found out they were involved in like 3 or 4 other lawsuits around the songs on that first album. You know, which
40 years of lawsuits.
Yeah, I mean, and the truth is that kind of stuff does happen when somebody like explodes out of the gate and sells 3 million records. All of a sudden, everybody's, wait, I think I wrote that song. You know, that does happen. It was certainly legitimate in my case, where we had copywritten the songs in 1980. Fortunately, no, maybe it was even before that. No, it was in 1980, and then that record came out in '84. So yeah, it was an interesting experience.
Let me ask you this: if you're gonna, because you're doing the songwriting classes and you're telling the kids how to write, but do you give them any business advice and say, as soon as you write something, you bloody well better get over to SOCAN or Harry Fox or whatever? And
that's exactly what I do. I'm still with ASCAP in the States,
right?
But I do the thing about Canada, and you would know this. It's kind of, you know, if you're a musician, you get to know everyone across the country. And if you sign up at SOCAN, you get to know your SOCAN person, and you can call and talk to a human still. So, yeah, that's one of the first things we talk about. And I
so very Canadian.
Yeah. I tell them
real human contact. Go ahead.
I tell the kids that I work with, you know, at my camp, I tell them my RATT story, and I tell them, you know, a couple other stories like, you know, similar kind of things. And, you know, the truth is, as I said, we had those 2 songs were copywritten in my name and Robin's and another guitar player that was in that band at the time named Ronnie Jones, later of Black Bambi, who were on Atlantic and never had their album released. But yeah, I just tell them, you know, protect your songs, but also, you know, write and get your songs out there, because let them have a life of their own. They're going to, you know, your songs are gonna do some work for you, and they're gonna get you more work. And so I encourage them not to be scared. Most people can't afford a lawsuit anyway. My dad at the time, he, you know, got a line of credit on his house, and it cost $145,000 for the legal fees. You know, this is back then. We settled in 1990, right? So, you know, most people don't have that kind of money to fight something like that. But
well, no, $150,000 is a chunk of change. So
that's a chunk of change.
Let me just ask you this, because I wasn't planning on talking lawsuits all day, but is it where you go to, you know, Warner Brother Records or whoever the record company is and sue them, or do you get Stephen Pearcy and Juan and say, hey, you got, like, is it sort of everything? Is it RATT Inc. record company? No, what were they on? Atlantic, I believe
they were on Atlantic.
Right.
Yep. Their publisher at the time was Warner Brothers. Their management was Marshall Burrell.
Right.
So yeah, you know, I'd never sued anybody. I didn't know how it all worked, and we had a lawyer from the city of Boston, coincidentally. We had a lawyer. He was like 1,000 years old and not really a music business sort of. That wasn't his specialty. So, but he did a good job and got us at least a settlement that, you know, that covered my dad's investment, and I bought a car for my first wife. But yeah, what you do is you sue everyone, right? We sued. Yeah, I don't remember if it was everybody in the band separately or together, but then it was the publisher, you know, the management,
Right.
record label. I don't remember if there was
The
anybody
band's
else.
incorporation, right? You
Yeah.
sue the LCC. Okay, so
Yeah.
and we'll move away from that because I don't want to be all about a lawsuit. But when you have the settlement, do they go back to the record and next issues they have to put your name in the credits? I haven't checked the credits in 30
Well,
years.
actually, my wife's in the other room, and we were just talking about that the other day because it came up actually in another interview. But yeah, our lawyer, as I said, he was a business, like he was part of a kind of corporate law, and he absolutely missed that. They didn't. That should have, of course, been part of the the settlement was any future album should have our names on them. Didn't happen, but the settlement happened a week before Riverdogs was going to start making their first record. So I guess it was '89, must have been, yeah. And I was on a whole other plane. Oh, we got a major label deal. I got a big publishing deal. All this stuff was happening. And I didn't really have much time to get super involved, and just was trusting that this lawyer was doing the right thing. But that was a big mistake because they sold a few more records, and played those songs to this day. If they were doing a gig, they would probably play "I'm Insane." Apparently, they still do. But yeah, now we're friendly, and Warren DeMartini and I have been friendly since then, and everything's cool, and it's water under the bridge, and I hold no resentment for any of it. I've done stupider things.
You see, I'm currently looking up the credits, and yeah, you're not there. Oh well. And I'll move on. I'll ask you this about "I'm Insane" and "Scene of the Crime" from RATT. Having gone through the experience of having to sue and so on and so forth, does that make you sort of bitter towards the songs where you're like, oh, I don't want to hear that song, it just brings up stuff? Or do you go, no, it's a fucking great song and I'm glad I got my due?
Yeah, you know what? That's how I feel. I feel like, hey, sure, I didn't get credit on the album, but I co-wrote a couple songs that were good enough to be on a record that sold 3 million copies. So the truth is that was pretty inspiring when it first came out. I was pissed, but it was also like, hey, like I know this is legit. So, it's part of what inspired me to move up to LA, get 2 gigs in a year, come back to, go back to San Diego with my tail between my legs, move up to LA again, have it fall apart, get offered record deals and have it all fall apart. And then to go up that third time, this is over a 3-year period, and then get the brass ring, get the record deal and get to, be in Riverdogs. And so that it inspired me to keep going, to be honest. So it's all good.
So, and here we are. So, okay, so let's quickly talk about Riverdogs. The band forms. You've got Vivian Campbell. Now he's sort of in between gigs. He's flirting with Lou Gramm, and he had the Dio stuff, and Def Leppard eventually start calling, and there's this moment where he has this time to do Riverdogs. Was the plan for this to be a self-contained band that was going to go off and be on tour forever, and 20 years, you'd be on your 30th anniversary tour right now? Or was it like, hey, you know what? We're sort of all in between projects. Dio's gone. Lou's not happening yet. What was sort of the genesis and the purpose of the band? Was it to compete with the other guys, or was it just to be sort of a project?
Well, actually, it was very much a legitimate band, and Viv would say that, and if you had asked him, he would have. He was still in Whitesnake. He was producing our demos.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about the Whitesnake.
Yeah. So he was in Whitesnake, getting ready to go write the record in Lake Tahoe with David Coverdale. That follow-up to, I think it was Slip of the Tongue, or one of those huge frickin' records that they made back then. And he was just this cool guy that was producing our demos, and he'd show up at a rehearsal, and then eventually he was like, hey, can I grab a guitar, and he'd start playing along on the songs, and then he started singing harmonies on the songs, and we were like, well, this is cool. And our drummer at the time, Alan De Silva, he was like, I think Viv wants to join our band. I was like, come on, he's in Whitesnake. They were like the biggest band at the moment. I said, I'm pretty sure And then Viv was getting ready to go to Lake Tahoe, and he called me the night before. We were recording the demos at Steve Vai's house, actually. And later that night, Viv called me, and he said, I'm heading off in the morning to go write this Whitesnake record, and I want to talk to you about being in your band. And I was just, it still freaks me out that happened. And because he was such a fit and such a beautiful human, like just such a great guy, and we were becoming really good friends. And so he said, hey, I want to go off and do this writing, and I really don't see myself touring with the band. I want to talk to you about writing more songs with you, and let's get a record deal. A couple days later, he was back. It didn't work out when he went to Lake Tahoe. There was some tension or whatever, and he was like, let's go, let's do this, let's finish some songs, let's keep going, let's get a record deal. And that's what we did, literally.
And it turned out great, because that very first Riverdogs album is revered. People talk about it, they put it on a pedestal. They say, my God, that first album, But okay, so then what happens there? Because we do put it on a pedestal. We do say, well, that first album. Why did it not go further then? Why did it sort of start stumbling, and then by 93 Bone, there's a different lineup, and
yeah.
What mistakes were made? Was it record company? Was it management? Was it the band members that were flirting with other projects? Where did it not catch on?
We were 100% committed to the band, including Viv. And he was, he said, hey, I can do this for about a year and make no money, and then I've got to make some money. He had a house in the Hollywood Hills then, and at least 2 or 3 Porsches then. He's got a few more now, But so we were aware that there was an expiry date if we weren't making some money. But the real killer was we were literally on the first single, which was a song called Toy Soldier, and we had a meeting, a dinner, I can't remember where, somewhere in Hollywood. We were playing at the Roxy with Burning Tree, if you remember that band. And we had.
I do. They opened up for the London Choir Boys in Montreal.
Ah, there you go.
Another great band.
Good show. Wow.
That was a fantastic show.
And like Burning Tree, like killer songs, killer band. So we were about to go do. So we were doing the Roxy, and then we were going to go north and do like San Francisco and I can't remember where else. Just up the coast a bit in California. We were going to do 6 or 7 shows. And so we are going to meet now the new president of the label, who was a guy named Richard Griffiths. And we had been signed by Tony Martell, who kind of had this boutique label at Epic Associated, his own little boutique label. So it was like being on a boutique label, but with Epic Records behind you. It was fantastic to start. And then they put Richard Griffiths above Tony somehow in some corporate thing. And we were literally on the first single, and our manager, Larry Mazer, who also managed Cinderella and Kiss.
Yes. Yeah. And who does he manage these days that I talked to him about?
He
managed, yeah. And later on, Lamb of God.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep, not anymore, but he had Lamb of God for a while. Larry's fantastic. I love Larry.
Amazing Philadelphia dude, right?
Yeah.
So we're at dinner. It's just the band, and Larry's there, and Richard Griffiths, and I think maybe a couple other people. And Larry says, so what do you think should be the next single? And literally that week, Toy Soldier was the most added song at rock radio. We're early in. This is like July. It came out in June of 1990, and this is like a month later. And Larry says, Richard, what are you thinking about for a next single? And Richard Griffith says, there's not going to be a next single. And we were like, what?
Wow. Whoa. Harsh.
Yeah. And he says, I want you to start writing songs for the next album. And we were a month in, honestly.
But I don't get it. What's the story? Why pull the plug? I mean, you're the most added to rock radio. the record is solid. I mean, we're listening to it 30 years later and it still sounds like a great record. Why pull the plug?
This is my opinion. I think it's because it wasn't his baby. He was just bringing in like Pearl Jam to Epic. I can't remember who else, but he had a couple of, new bands, grunge bands, as they were called.
Don't you love the politics of record companies where, and I hear this all the time, where they just go, well, we didn't have because we weren't that guy's band, or he was mad at that guy who happened to be the guy with the band, and now he was going to piss him off by, and it's just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like Little Caesar, the guys in Little Caesar suffered through that,
Oh gosh, yes.
Anyway.
Yeah, Ron. Yeah, what a killer
Ron.
band that was. Again, another like unbelievable world-class rock band. Just sweating it out in the clubs.
Yeah, we need a Riverdogs Little Caesar summer tour at some point. Let me ask you about this, because we're already at 30 minutes, believe it or not.
Holy moly!
I know, doesn't this go fast?
It does, actually, yeah.
You do the on air, the absolutely live, the bone. Andrew McNeese puts out World Gone Mad, but then you get to California, and there's sort of a refocused purpose. There's a rebirth, if you want, to the band. And it's an absolutely phenomenal album. You look at a lot of the top 10 lists from 2017, top 10 whatever records or top 20 records, and it appears. Yeah. Different writers, different countries. It's all over the place. Talk to me a little bit about that and sort of coming into it, 27 years later and saying, okay, we are going to acquiesce to Frontier Records' demands and we'll make this record. Why sort of start it up again and write it up again? And what was the purpose? Just to have fun, or just to say, hey? And was there a hope that you could restart the band? Because you've all got your lives and careers. You can't really hop in a van and go on a tour.
No,
we're not at that place anymore.
We're not at that place, Mitch. We weren't looking for a record deal. We weren't. Right. We had no thought of it. We never talked about it. The band, though, the four of us, we would get together every couple of years, all throughout that time, always. We would get together, have, just get some Mexican food for lunch and sit around in someone's, house and just sit in a circle and talk for a couple hours and have a beer. And we consistently did that. And sometimes an acoustic guitar would come out, or sometimes we just play some songs, whatever. And occasionally we would write something with no goal of recording it or doing anything with it. That World Gone Mad record was just kind of a compilation of some of the little odds and ends. So it wasn't a cohesive project at all. We weren't together writing, just barely at all, right?
My understanding is Andrew McNeese of Melodic Rock came to you and said, hey, could we do something? And you had, No Matter What Live sitting here, and you had the other ones, and you said, okay, here, yes. Which is fine. It's a very pleasant record, and Andrew did a great job, and the band sounds great, so no complaints there. But California, that's a record.
Well, California, this is the thing that, so then, Viv calls everybody at like end of 2015. We do a conference call because, we do that once in a while. And but it was for a purpose, and our manager said, hey, let's chat. Viv's got something for us. We're like, well, what the heck would that be? And he says, hey, Frontiers, this label that kind of specializes in bands from the 80s, 90s, it wants to know if we want to make a record. And it was just like instantly everyone was like, oh, hell yeah. Do we have enough budget to, have a couple writing sessions and properly record? That was the thing, to do it properly. And it was incredible. We had no direction, but very early on, like we all said yes. The next day, our manager, Paul Lazuski, started talking with the label. And very quickly they said, we love you guys, but we want you to make a record that sounds like the first one. And that wasn't universally accepted right away, or sort of, not everyone was comfortable with that right in that moment. But I said, this is a gift, because we have no direction otherwise. this is a really wonderful gift for us to have like a starting point and a direction. And we, just kind of mapped out if we did like two, if I flew to California a couple times, 2 riding trips, we get in like 5 days, maybe 3 days, 4 days of riding, and 1 day to like lay everything down in Mark, the drummer's in his home studio, just to get things down as something we could build off later. And then I started thinking about, I had this idea that everyone embraced, and it was, what if we're writing this record? It's like 1993 or 90, even 92. We've been on tour for 2 years, and now we've been back for a couple months. We're living our lives, and let's write a record. And everyone felt really good about that. And that was our starting point. And then we did something really interesting, I think. We didn't discuss how we're going to write these, because the first album, I was kind of the main writer. I wrote most of the music and a lot of the words, 80, 90% of them. And we didn't talk about it. So a month later, I show up in LA. I brought 2 songs with me, American Dream and The Revolution Starts Tonight, that I'd written, with
respectfully, the 2 best songs on the album.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Mitch. Holy crap.
I love those 2 songs, but okay.
Wow. I wrote those 2 songs with my younger son, who's a killer drummer.
Right.
And I'm not saying we wrote them. We then Riverdogs them up. I took them to the band and, I sent them demos.
Right, of course.
I thought, well, I should prepare a couple songs to start. But we just, without talking about it, we sat in a room, the 4 of us, and we just started writing together. And we didn't write that way. It wasn't like, does Rob have an idea? It was like, what is going to emerge out of this room right now between these 4, veterans? And that's what we did. We needed 12 songs. We wrote 12 songs. We wrote 6 songs in 3 days on the first trip. And then we went and recorded the at least kind of bed tracks, which we replaced everything except, I think, Nick's bass. We laid it down even if I didn't have all the lyrics yet. And then we did a second trip, and we wrote another 6 songs and recorded them, started recording them in that same way. And, we used the same amps. Viv used the same amps that he used on that first Riverdogs record. And Nick used the same amps and the same bass. And we borrowed some gear here and there to get some specific things that we wanted for the sound. And Nick meticulously, brilliantly recorded everything and then mixed it. And, he talked to Jeff Glixman, the guy that mixed the first Riverdogs record, who, kind of produced the second half of it and mixed it. They had these long conversations. Our original producer from that first album, who we had fired, Michael Frondelli, reached out to us and kind of with an olive branch. It was so beautiful. We all kind of made our peace with him. And it was this like amazing, sort of full circle thing. And when we were done with the mixes, I said to everybody on another conference call, because we have had a lot of those over the years, and I said, like, we did it. We killed it. We nailed what we were trying to do. Whatever happens from here on out, we did it. And, I take that stuff to the bank. I'm a little obsessive about, songs and capturing something, and we did it, right? So we celebrate.
In spades, you did it. I mean, it is a great sounding record. Since California has come out,
mm-hmm.
different band members have done interviews, and the resounding sort of message is, oh, we're done. We're never going to do Riverdogs again. Is that a feeling that still maintains to this day? Or is it like, okay, we said that in 2018. We were whatever, upset, happy, whatever, tired. I mean, is it never say never? Or is it like, no, we're done and the hell with this. Bury the stupid thing.
The thing is, bury the stupid thing. The thing is, Viv's in Last in Line and
right.
Def Leppard. So I talked to him this morning on the phone. I on my Instagram today, I posted your name on my phone log, and Viv's is the name before, because he called me today. And, he's like, I hope you like what I send you, because I'm not going to have time for a couple weeks if you want me to do something different on the guitar on this song that he's playing on.
Right.
Because, of course, the Def Leppard machine is pushing forward, right? And as is Last in Line. So even if it was if that was the issue, but honestly, I don't think we could capture lightning in a jar like we did. We got so freaking lucky. We wrote 6 songs, like I said, 6 songs in 3 days, and then another 6 songs in 3 days. Everyone was on their best behavior. I didn't steal anyone's wallet, or it was just, everything went so well. It's like the icing on the cake. I want to leave it at that. And I have no interest in like touring rock clubs. It's just,
right.
I have no interest in that. So
yeah, I can see that that's sort of difficult. I mean, maybe if the M3 festival or the European ones call and say, come and do some one-offs. Okay.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to play for 50,000 people?
You got it, Mitch. And there was a couple of years ago. Yeah, a couple of years ago, we had an offer for a bunch of money to do something, and one-off. And we literally, with the Def Leppard schedule, we just couldn't do it. Like Viv would come home off of a leg of a Def Leppard, run, and the next day would have been the gig. And there's no way to do it. We were trying to make it happen. It wasn't going to happen. And in fact, Viv and I and our manager talked about it. We didn't even talk to the other guys because it was like, well, let's just see if we can even do this. So I think it's done. I mean, I don't think there's any way that we're going to
come back. Well, it's too bad.
Having said that, I'm still working with Nick on projects.
Right.
Like I said, he's mixing this project. I've been to Nashville last year doing some songwriting with him. Actually, I was going to go to Viv's house back in, I think it was May. I was going to be at his new place over towards the East Coast there. And we were just going to write and record for 3 or 4 days. And just, he and I are both, we're interested in like, those co-lead vocal things. Like that guy's a killer singer. And, Archangels or the Rembrandts, I love that, like 2 dudes singing. And he and I, we would really like to do something like that. So that could very well happen. Again, he is insanely busy.
Insanely busy. That would be cool. I mean, and I know this is sort of a cop-out, but I would personally like a live album just to have the 90s stuff and the 93 stuff sort of all brought up to date sonically and with that new energy and perspective. But yes, in a sense, live albums is a bit of a cop-out, but listen, I'm down with it. I love it. I will finish on this because we're already at 40 minutes. Mark, of course, the drummer, has spoken about being on Def Leppard's Yeah album and how some of those are just collection of demos that him and Viv and other guys, and they just sort of threw these demos together, and it's not really a Leppard album. It's just a collection of these. Were you at all involved in any of that? Were you on some of those songs or no?
No, those guys, they can't afford me. No. I don't even remember. I don't even know when that was exactly. I don't know if I was still in LA then or not. I might have been long gone. I've been here in Canada since November of #94. So
that was 2006.
Oh, so it wasn't that long ago, really. Yeah, no, I wasn't involved in that. I love the band. Joe is, one of the friendliest humans you could hang with.
Well, we've got a lot of Canadians on there. We got Mreiner, who's credited on this. We've got Mark Dennett. You gotta love M. And her brother.
She's got a new record.
Oh, does she? Did she do it with Sean Kelly?
I don't know. I just saw like yesterday on Instagram or something. She's got. I mean, maybe it's a single. I shouldn't say it's a new record, but I saw the word new, so. She got something going on. Yeah.
Oh, I got to check that out. M's great.
Susie McNeil on that record too?
Who?
Susie McNeil. I just thought maybe she.
Was she on this one?
Just curious on that Def Leppard one.
No, she's not. Okay. Not, at least not. I mean, listen, you're not credited in the RATT one, and we know that you're on it. So, but she might have been. But yeah, M's great. She does this very haunting version of "Pour Some Sugar on Me," just her voice and piano.
I've seen her do it live in a little
It's
bar.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. And I guess that's sort of where her, Joe, Malvin, and all that sort of got connected through. Anyway,
right.
Great stuff.
You know Malvin.
I do know Malvin. Malvin was my into Def Leppard for many, many years. And then I wrote him once and said, hey, you're coming to town. He goes, no, I'm not. And they fired me or whatever. I'm not with them anymore. And I was like, damn it.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Well,
Oh,
now you got Viv. Come on, he's on your podcast. You
I
got
know.
his number.
I know. But I can't really just call Viv and demand stuff. But anyway, I love my Leppard. You know, my playlist on Leppard is, I believe, 500 songs. Let's have a look here.
God.
It is. Hold on, we're gonna scroll down here.
Wow.
It is. Oh, you can't see it. Oh, you can't see it. It is 550 songs, 40 hours and 40 minutes long.
That's all Def Leppard or associated projects.
It is Def Leppard and some associated. So there's Man Rays, and look at that. American Dream and Glitter Town by Riverdogs are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. American Dream is song number 8, and Glitter Dogs is song number 9.
Yes.
Because you want to start a playlist with the best.
We're on the Mitch charts, baby.
You're on the Mitch charts. You're 8 and 9 on the Mitch charts in the playlist in the 550. You're right at the top. Anyway.
When do those checks start coming?
I believe they get sent over to the RATT guys, actually.
Oh, perfect.
Juan's sitting there very happy.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Rob. But on that, Rob, just an absolute pleasure. I've been a longtime fan. I just think the songwriting and the playing on those Riverdog albums are fantastic. And listen, if it can happen again, maybe in 2022, that you get motivated to write like if it was 1996, let's do it.
Okay, Mitch, I will take that into consideration.
Yeah. From me.
Great to chat with you. Honestly, really enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and we'll do it again soon. And there we go. Merci, as we say in Montreal.
Bonjour.
Bonsoir. There we go. Perfect. Let me stop the recording on that. Let me